Our journey once early interventions ended. A few weeks back, I made a video about early interventions, our experience with it before my daughter's autism diagnosis. You can go back to that and check it out. In early interventions, we got a medical diagnostic, an autism diagnosis, and we also met with our coordinator who actually sat in on the first IEP meeting with the school district. They set up the whole thing. Okay, so let's talk about that IEP meeting. We'll call this part 2 of our journey of finding services in the beginning of autism. Basically, at the time, we were in the district of a small country school, the same one that I went to. It was K through 8, and I loved my experience. My grandmother worked at this school for like 35 years or something like that. My siblings also went there. My dad went there. It's just, if I had a dream life scenario at the time, before I knew we were going to have a child with autism, that's where both my children would go to school. The house we were in was like our dream house. That was the life I thought we would have. Unfortunately, because this is a rural school district, there weren't the same kind of resources that are needed for a child as severe as Ella. At the time, we didn't know where her diagnosis was headed. We didn't know that she was going to be as severe as she is. So we didn't know what to do, but the first step was you always attend the IEP meeting just to see where things go and to hear what they have to say, to check it off the list. That was my experience. I always entertained what they had to say. Obviously, it's part of their job as the school district to have that yearly IEP meeting unless I turn it down. So, of course, they have to reach out, especially if your child has needs. So I told them that we were looking into ABA therapy, and we just really didn't know what to do. We didn't really have any experience at this point, being the first IEP meeting with the school district. So they offered us, because they didn't have a program for kids with special needs or really any services at their school for kids that had as severe needs as Ella does. There are some children that go to that school that have autism, but they're very high functioning. They 100% have like speech therapy options. I don't know about occupational therapy, but usually in this case, if there's a child with severe needs, they outplace them. Our option from the school district was to be sent to another rural school that had all the resources Ella needed: occupational therapy, speech therapy. I don't remember because it's been so long ago, but they had a setting where I think it was other kids with needs, and it was a very small group of kids. I feel like she was going to be like one of like 4 or 5 kids in this classroom that was more like a preschool setting for special needs children, and the drive was going to be about 30 minutes. In my mind, I'm thinking this doesn't make sense because it's another rural school and there's still very limited resources. My child like puts everything in her mouth. She's a safety risk. She couldn't speak or communicate effectively, and it just didn't seem worth the risk. So unless it was a setting that I trusted more or was a little bit more directed towards special needs in the way I thought that Ella needed, I probably would have considered it, but it just didn't feel right. And that's okay. I feel like in the beginning, the school district we were in, they were so nice to us and they were so compassionate. You know, they took the time to answer questions. They observed Ella. She sat in on that IEP meeting and they got to meet her. But in the end, they told me to take my time in my decision, and I decided to turn it down. That was scary to me to turn that down because I feel like a lot of people think the school district is the end all. And in a way, they do make you feel like they are the place that can progress your children. School district knows what to do. That's not necessarily true. There's a lot of teachers' assistants that have very low experience. They don't have a lot of experience with special needs. They just kind of get thrown in to the situation and they don't always know what to do. That's really scary for having to send your child to school for the first time and they can't even speak, and having people that have very limited experience. And I will say, I did ask the question. I've asked the question to, I said, can I be the teacher's assistant? Could I get my paraprofessional and just be her teacher's assistant? And they don't go for that at schools because I think, for one, they're afraid of the parent seeing too much or something and trying to sue, or they're just, they believe in independence, and they believe part of a child's journey is finding their independence away from the home and away from family. And I completely agree with that for a more high functioning child. However, Ella, she's just not in that situation. Like, I don't agree with that. I believe, as her mom, I'm sure that they don't want all of the opinions from the parent constantly. I'm sure that that's not the kind of situation that a teacher wants to work under the pressure of constantly. I get it, but I do also believe that no one could help her the way I could. And I wish that was more of an option, because for these very severe kids, that's honestly the best option. And if more parents could be like the TA, I think that they wouldn't feel as nervous going through the motions with the school district. That was the best they could do. Year one. She was 3 years old. So I decided I'm going to find private services, and I was already looking into ABA therapy. This was also a 30-minute drive, but this was people that at least had some training in the situation, and I went to visit the environment, and the vibe I got from that was completely different. I don't really care about your comments about the stigmas of ABA, because honestly, most of the time, they're coming from a place of maybe you haven't really experienced the situation in an ABA center that worked for your child or with the right group of people. Maybe you had a bad experience, and I'm sorry for those experiences, but ABA has come a long way over the years. No matter where you send your child, it's a risk. So there could still be situations that people have been exposed to that weren't great situations, and that's horrible. I'm not going to deny that, but the center that I sent my child to was amazing, and there's skills that she never did up until doing ABA and learned in ABA that I don't know how I would have taught her, and I was struggling to. And they taught her how to do certain skills within a few months. So that changed Ella's life. But as far as that first IEP meeting, don't feel bad to question everything and turn things down if you have to. You are not obligated to agree with the school district and take whatever placement that they have available, even if it's the only one.